we're going all the way to England. Christopher Dane, Britse Akteur, en ons gesels oor die film The Unfamiliar. Good morning, Christopher.
Good morning. How are you?
Lovely. Thank you for your time. It's such an honor. We don't get a lot of international guests, except if they're sports stars. So to speak to an actor with your caliber is just it's our privilege.
Thank you. I'm definitely not a sports star, that's for sure.
Listen, before we get to the movie, first let's start with COVID. You back in lockdown?
We are from Thursday. Yeah, we're back in almost the same kind of lockdown as we were back in March. So it's a bit disappointing that things have gone a bit out of control. But unfortunately, we're not alone in the world of COVID.
And now, again, before we get to the movie, we just want to get to know you a bit more. I'm very curious about your Scandinavian background or genes, and you've played in some movies, or series, and even Vikings. I was a big fan. So, just what is that genes? The Scandinavian, the Viking genes.
Well, the Scandinavian Viking genes. I was born and raised in Denmark, so I am actually Danish. Before I decided to become an actor and then moved over to the UK. So that's where they come from. And it sort of came in especially sort of convenient in a film I did about 10 years ago that's called Born of Hope, which was a Lord of the Rings prequel, if you like. So very low budget, but it's quite up there. And I played Viggo Mortensen's character's father. And Viggo Mortensen, as you know, is Danish as well. So that was kind of a really good match.
Can you still do the Danish accent?
Oh, yeah, I can do the Danish accent. I speak fluent Danish as well.
Okay, so maybe you can just say hello in Danish for us in South Africa.
Det kan i hvert fald, det er meget, meget dejligt for mig at være her i Sydafrika på sådan en rigtig tidlig morgen.
Oh, you see, that's very close to Afrikaans. We're going to get
there
to
is a bit, isn't there? Yeah.
Yes.
There are a few of those little weird sounds, yeah.
Love it. And then just before, I mean, you've done EastEnders, and I've watched some of your reel and all the different roles you played. A lot of blood in your face with some of the roles, and you like shooting and swords and stuff. But the whole jump, theatre, is that still your first love? That's where it started for you in London?
Well, I think for every actor, theatre is sort of the first thing that you do. That's the first time you get in touch with or encounter acting. You either see it at a school play or that sort of thing, and that's absolutely where it sort of piqued my interest at school. But I was quite creative when it came to drawing and designs and stuff like that. So I actually had about 15 years in advertising as a career before I became an actor. So I've been lucky to sort of work within the creative field or arts for all of my life. And I'm quite privileged to do so. Very early on in my career as an actor, I did some theatre. I managed to get on a stage in the West End here in London for a great play that was called Mary Stuart. But then, since then, I've kind of decided to go and try to go into film and TV. And as you said, I've been lucky enough to be in a good storyline in EastEnders, even the Danish, The Bridge, if you've seen that. I assume that was big in South Africa as well. So yeah, I've been very lucky and doing a lot of independent films like The Unfamiliar. And it's always a pleasure to do it.
Christopher, it's Henry here. Just like your name mentioned, I mean, a lot of the films with a lot of blood in your face. Was it an intentional decision that you've made as an actor to go for a more action-filled kind of movie overall as your genre, or was it just something that happened?
No, it's quite a conscious decision, I think. But I've always been drawn to the more action type style, and that was what I grew up with as well. Like favorite films like, Star Wars and that sort of thing, where it's Lord of the Rings as well, where you're fighting with swords and stuff like that. And I've always been quite physical in that way. And obviously you are then drawn to that kind of character as well. I think physically my look fits that sort of thing fairly well. I think so. So as conscious a decision as that can be, but I think that's what fits my look as well. So that's why I've been lucky to do a lot of that sort of thing, which is very, very good fun, interesting, very hard work sometimes, but yeah, it's cool.
And then, as you know, with The Unfamiliar, we're so proud of the South African guys that produced, directed this movie, wrote this movie, and after the launch of it international, I've seen articles here that even the Hollywood guys, all of a sudden, they saw them and they realized something's happening here. So just your experience of The Unfamiliar looks like a great movie. Just got the sound for me. But your experience working with these guys that we're so extremely proud of, we want to give them Oscars. And tell us more about the movie and your role.
I was approached by Henk Pretorius and the guys pretty late in the process, I think, of casting. And it was very clear from the start, for me anyway, when I had the first meeting with the guys, that they are so energetic, they're so into what they do, and they're so committed to what they do. And I assume that's an attitude that they brought with them from South Africa, from the films that they very successfully made and produced in their homeland. And so it was. For me, it was a slight different energy than from a lot of the UK production companies, and it really it was quite inspiring. And we were all when the cast met up the first time for a read through, you could sort of feel that there was that kind of energy in the room, and that everybody picked up on it. So that was a really interesting difference, a slight difference, and it's difficult to put into exact words other than it was a different kind of energy, and that was very inspiring. And the reason why I took on the part sort of links to what we just talked about all these characters I've played with blood on my face and swords and all that sort of thing. I kind of took on the part because it allowed me to show a different side of me, a softer side, because the character I play is called Ethan Cormack. He's the husband to the lead character, played by Jemima West, and he's a stay-at-home husband, and he's a professor in mythology and that sort of thing. They have 3 children, so there's a 12-year-old and an 8-month-old baby, 10-month-old baby, what it was. So it was kind of a chance for me to show a different side of me, to be the husband, the stay-at-home husband, which was really good fun. And it was Henk was great at creating this family dynamic between actors who had only basically met each other for like maybe 2 or 3 hours before we started filming.
Have you ever visited South Africa? Have you been
I've never been to South Africa, no. And I've got lots of friends within the business who's filmed down there, because it is a very popular destination for filming, especially for commercials, because of obviously the weather and your incredible nature vistas, all that sort of thing. So I've always been quite jealous of people when they say, "Oh, I'm going to South Africa for a few weeks to film," and I hope it'll happen for me one day.
And then in 30 seconds, motivate people to go see this movie.
Sorry, say that again?
In about 30 seconds, motivate people to go see The Unfamiliar.
Well, I suggest that you see the film if you like suspense, if you like a bit of a puzzle, and if you don't mind being at unease for about an hour and a half, because there's a lot of that in the film. There's a lot of piecing things together. If you engage with the characters, you're in for a bit of a bumpy ride.
Christopher, thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to the next work you're going to do.
You're most welcome. So am I.
Great stuff.